Hitman is a series that I hold dear to me, and I want to dive into what makes it special. This script has definitely taken me the longest to write because it was hard to pinpoint what was the reason this series is so special. So, let's talk about who it appeals to first. If you like learning a specific area and seeing all the different choices, you will probably like the Hitman series, but it is an acquired taste. Hitman's earlier games have some janky elements that can be frustrating, but still they are incredibly fun. Starting with Hitman, codename 47, in November 2000, that was a PC exclusive and the last entry in the series, Hitman 3, released in January 2001. These games have had a long run and it's not hard to see why. If you haven't played these games and you're still a fan of stealth games, you were probably in one of the other stealth gamer girl groups. There are three different stealth gamer girls: the Assassin's Creed group, the Metal Gear Solid group, or like me, the Hitman group. Hey, Ed and Goblin here, and I realized I forgot about the Thief group and the Dishonored group, which are popular groups and popular games. So sorry about that, and yeah, you can continue. Metal Gear Solid's last release, slash Metal Gear Survive, was a disappointment for many fans. It strayed too much from what people wanted from the series, therefore, it was practically abandoned. Kind of how Fallout 64 strayed too much from what people liked about Fallout, so that game was abandoned as well. Assassin's Creed has made many fans disappointed by their latest releases. While I have never been a MGS or Assassin's Creed fan, I understand their impact and it is sad to see them go out like that. It's the opposite for Hitman, however. People consider the last three entries as some of the best in the series. Hitman 2 and 3 have been considered better than Blood Money, which was considered the peak of the series. I have only played Hitman 1, Blood Money, and Absolution, but it's still one of my favorite series. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about the actual game mechanics. The Hitman series has changed quite a bit, but the main elements have stayed intact. I believe Hitman is a game series that is all about player choice, trial and error, being able to change your disguise, and obviously the hits you pull off. The series has stayed with that formula other than one game, The Black Sheep, Hitman Absolution. While I don't think Hitman Absolution is a bad game per se, it's just not a Hitman game. It did not need to be in the series, and it kind of tainted the player's experience with the entire series. It was a stealth game instead of the strategic assassin game we were accustomed to. For a majority of the missions, you just sneak around, and you don't even have a target. You just go from point A to B. Hitman Absolution added a few nice additions. Instinct was a good idea that was implemented poorly and was just flat out annoying, but was used in later entries being more polished. Other than Hitman Absolution, there's no other game that strays as much from the series' roots. The series has always had different locations spread around the world to have an interesting environment to explore and find ways to eliminate your target. As other stealth games want you to hide where you can't be found, Hitman allows you to hide in plain sight, using different disguises to get into certain areas. Blending into each area, making your acts seem like an accident, and being the perfect assassin in each scenario is what makes the Hitman series special. The company behind the Hitman series is IO Interactive, and they have been with the series since its inception. They have had to go through hell in multiple of their developing processes. For example, Hitman 2 was going through the main producer, Square Enix, leaving the project and leaving them without the funds to make their next game, until WB Games became the main producer and they were able to release one of the best games in the series despite that. With the 8 main entries in the series, you would think that one would probably be bad, which none are. Hitman Agent 47 is a bit outdated but still has some fun elements. Same can be said about Hitman 2, Silent Assassin. Hitman Contracts is the best in the first trilogy, taking the good elements of the first two and making them more gritty and smooth. All of the environments in Hitman Contracts are all from the first game, just remade to look more gritty and realistic. Though it didn't really have any innovations, it was still a solid game to hold people over for the real sequel. The real sequel, Hitman Blood Money, is my personal favorite game in the series, and I will make a review about it a different time. But just know it is definitely worth playing. Hitman Absolution is probably the worst mainline game in the series, for the reasons I have said, but there is more, but that's for a different video. Hitman 2016 is probably the peak of the series gameplay, and the one I've probably spent the most amount of time with. I didn't own any of the missions other than the Paris mission, but I still put a lot of time into refining my strategy and techniques. Though I never played Hitman 2, it did refine some features from Hitman 2016. It also had a lot of creative and fun levels. I don't remember if there was any new features, but the gameplay didn't really need any refinement. Hitman 3 is about the same as 2 gameplay wise, with a new feature which is the camera. I don't remember what the camera does, but it was a welcomed addition. It also had a PSVR mode that wasn't available on any other VR sets. So you might be thinking, what's the story in these games like? Well, the Hitman series was never focused on story. The only game that put a heavy emphasis on the story is Hitman Absolution. The story in Hitman Absolution makes zero sense and is kinda underwhelming. The enemies aren't who you expect, and aren't good in any other way other than their voice acting. If you were looking for a story in these games, you're gonna be disappointed. Most of the stories are told in flashbacks just to give you fun locations to go to. So we've reached a conclusion. If you haven't played these games, you are missing out on some of the most fun and creative experiences ever. If you are new, I would recommend Hitman 2016 so you can get a feel of the general idea of the gameplay. Then I would recommend Hitman Blood Money so you can truly appreciate it. I have only personally played 3, but I know the general idea of all of them. Here's my ranking of the ones I have played. Okay, so if you have disagreed with any of my points, you can comment your complaint, and yeah, I will respond. So yeah, this is the end. This has been Big Squigums, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Alright, see ya.